Yeah, right.
David Norris, welcome to Business Insider.
Thanks.
And I'll ask the questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. Just stop me, I can't help myself. Yeah.
David, we have the questions. You know the questions. Let's go to those. Active Assist, kind of a capstone or another stage in 20 years of consulting in one way or the other. Do you want to go back and where has Active Assist come from? And why should we listen to you for a start?
Well, I'd been in corporate roles, management roles, public sector utility, and then American multinational in Commonwealth Bank over a 23-year period. And woke up one day and thought, do I want to keep doing this till I retire? Are there other things in life, et cetera, you know, that sort of late midlife crisis, sea change thing. And I loved every minute of what I did, and I'd been,
so when was this?
If you reach 9 years ago.
Okay.
And you reach a point, I suppose if you keep moving up the ladder, there's always more to do and more work to do and more time involved, and my family had suffered, and all those usual corporate things where you don't spend time with the family, you don't do other things except work. And I'd done that for years and years, and I sort of woke up one day and realised, particularly with children, that I needed to back off from that, and I needed to either stop on the ladder somewhere and find a comfort spot where you don't have to work so hard, which a lot of people do.
And now, David, as a coach, are you advising people on that ladder, whether to go up or down or sideways?
No, I don't. No, I'm not in that space.
Okay.
I do find, anyway. I
decided
I needed to change it and change it significantly. Mostly family oriented. So I got up one day and just left the corporate job, and then sabbatical. Thought about what I wanted to do. I had a property up here, acreage, so I just started spending more time here.
It's near the airport, isn't it? The one we're
Oh,
proposing.
the new airport. Yeah. One
Sorry.
day. And I thought I'd go out and help people, and also looking for balance. And I didn't want to work those long hours. I wanted to spend time with kids. So for a while, I spent school holidays with my kids, and worked on my house, did some of that, and started this business up. And
so tell us about that business. What is Active Assist?
Well, it's really working with business owners and business managers to have a more successful business, to deal with whatever issues they have, whatever opportunities, and help them make the business more successful.
We've talked about this a little earlier, and part of your task is adding to the owners or the managers' skills and doing stuff that.
Yeah. Some of it is I went out looking for helping smaller businesses, because the corporate world is different culturally and value-wise, and I found going out to business groups, it was the smaller businesses or medium-sized businesses that had family values, and also you can recognise there's a lot of struggle. And I don't mean businesses struggle generally, but most businesses I meet aren't in that space of really comfort, really terrific. They've all got some issues, and they've all got opportunities to, spend more time with their family or have an easier business. So I started offering and helping with planning and tracking and the obvious sort of normal business patterns that you should have. And I found that more and more people were asking for, how do I market, because I'm not getting enough clients. So I'd start getting into the marketing space, and all of it I'd done before in the corporate world. But when you're in the smaller business world, it's really the same fundamental things, but it's really very different. And I set out when I first did my plan because I knew I was in a different space, to spend a third of my time with clients and a third of my time on improving systems and learning. So I found over the first 12 months of the business, I spent a lot of time working with clients and then going home taking lots of notes on how I could change or improve what I was doing. So I was consciously looking to find the right solutions for the small business market based on what I knew. And I'd bring out things that I'd used in the corporate world, and I'd just tune them down.
Are you still doing that? One third?
No. Now I tend to, as a routine, have a sort of a monthly check on what am I improving, and I'm asking myself, if I haven't improved something I'm doing in the last month, what can I improve? So I'm trying to constantly improve all the time. And different types of businesses have different things that I learn from.
I need to, if we come back and say, okay, well, this was 9 years ago, or and we started chatting.
Yeah.
I have to declare an interest. I always thought I could turn you into a big paddle agitator, but you've never lived up to my desires there, David. So we'll just move on. Things that surprised you. Did you get to a point? Have you got to a point in any of the strategies that you've worked with that have said, "Oh, that worked really well," or "That didn't work as well as I would have liked it to have worked"? And
For me or for my clients?
For you, for Active Assist.
Probably, if I say anything that's helped my business, it's going to be something that I'm sort of more conscious that it's helped clients.
Okay, go.
When I'm working with clients, if something works really well, then obviously I'm going to pick it up, and my next clients are going to pick it up. And if I'm constantly looking for ways to do things better, then I see that
Give me a couple of
all
those.
future clients will get that too.
Listen to my questions, David. I don't want to have to get nasty with you.
Okay.
Give me one or two of those things that you've found have helped
little
you.
Little things. Certainly a couple of things for startups that I find most startups aren't aware of. Even after a little while, they're still not aware. What I call the Take 5 rule, which is about 5 touches to the market. I had a person I met with, we had a coffee, they'd been running for a couple of months, they didn't have one client, and I asked them what they'd been doing, and a lot about how they got where they are and so on. And they said that in their marketing they'd done a mailbox drop to 10,000 houses. And they said to me, "Guess how many calls I got?" And I said, "None." And they said, "How do you know I got none?" And I said, no one calls somebody who they don't know on the first touch. The brand isn't known, it's not trusted, people aren't aware of it, they don't know who it is. They see something in their mailbox they've never seen before, a brand or a person they've never seen before. It's just human nature, they don't trust it. So you need to build the trust. And I said to them, if you did a mailbox drop to 2,000 houses and did it 5 times, you'll get calls. Because they begin to trust the brand. And they went, and they were demoralised thinking their business wasn't going anywhere, and they just didn't know that. That's something I think. The other thing about that is startups will market, get no result, and they're all fired up, and then they go flat, and it knocks them around, and a lot of them don't succeed. And one of the reasons is, a lot of it's their energy when you start out. You need energy to keep a business going when you start. And a lot of people start a business and they lose that momentum just because they didn't know the 5 touch rule.
Do you bring energy to their business, do you think?
Oh yeah, probably. If I'm fired up about what they're doing, it helps them get
do you-
fired up.
do
I get
you
fired
work-
up about most.
Do you work with anyone you don't get fired up about? I find that difficult to believe.
Oh, if I don't, I don't work.
You don't work.
I haven't had that for a while. But
that's another thing. We have an ongoing debate here about superhuman attributes. And I think that's another thing. We talked about Active Assist being capable of doing stuff that a lot of our clients, or a lot of your clients, don't want to do. Another one would be that energy and re-energising. Whenever I've spoken to David Norris, he's been a bit like the Energizer Bunny or the Duracell Bunny. That they haven't run the ad for a while, but it is about that. With businesses, because a lot of them tire quickly.
If I'm confident about the person that I'm working with, I think they trust that they can do it. And you can have genuine confidence in them. If I think somebody's going to do well, and I'm not pretending they're going to do well, if I really think they're going to do well, they pick that up. And a lot of people, well, I think it's just general human nature. If people are positive and think that things are going to move forward and work well, then they tend to. If they think they're stuck and they're never going to make it, then they tend not.
That will happen as well. If you think you can,
it's definitely part of the picture is you need to give people confidence. I do use systems that are developed from working with lots of businesses. Systems and having a plan that's on your desk that you use every day that gives you focus and clarity and gets you going and you're able to measure results. Those sorts of things make people confident as well.
Now I want to talk about your plan, Active Assist plan for the next 12 months. What are you going to do, big guy?
Oh, do you want me to give it away?
No, you can charge me for it.
My plan is I've been moving probably this year, just adjusting slightly and lining up more with a shared goals model with clients. So I've got a lot more clients now where I share their goals.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody says, you know, someone who's a very good professional, and they do a very good professional service, and they sort of realise, I meet a lot that have been running for quite a while, and it's always been a bit of an effort, and they never really got to that contentment stage. And I look for fairly quickly to find that part of what's going on that's not working.
Yeah. So when you talk about shared goals, are you saying, if we achieve this, I'll get this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If they're interested in that, it's very motivating. It's
Yeah.
very powerful. I have clients who are very good at something, but they really aren't good managers.
Yeah.
And they've tried the management thing.
We don't want them to be, David. Where would the big paddle be? Where would the active assist be if all our clients were good managers and good directors and good strategic planners?
Well,
I need to come back. Don't answer that because I just finished that statement. Anyway. Does David Norris have a job or does he have a business?
Middle.
No.
I'm very conscious of this. It's a job.
So do you want more? Are you going to do that again, or what's... Because
I've always got my eye out for that other or others that I can mentor and teach what I do, and I'm always looking for that.
Yeah.
And I believe they're out there and they're around, and I like to do that anyway.
But you've got to put your outset. You've got to put yourself out there, haven't you, to meet those people?
Yeah.
And are they on the coast?
I'm out there a lot. Well, for me, they need to be on the coast. It's part of my values.
Okay.
I'm not looking to connect with the Sydney market or Sydney people. I'm really a Central Coast focused person. So.
Okay. All right. That's. I thought I've done enough damage.
The thing about shared goals, I've found I don't have contracts with people. I found right from the start when I've studied and looked at coaching and consulting, I've found that in all the things I studied, that when people have a contract for a coach, that's sort of a locked-in routine, it's just not the right mindset or energy producer for the coach to do the way I work is if I'm doing a great job for somebody, they keep engaging me. And I just found that very much more highly motivating, and it produces better results.
Oh, and the shared values take you down that path and let you, you believe in me, I believe in you, and let's make this happen.
Also, I'm looking for my own goals as well, and my own goals are one day I'll retire probably. You know, the way I work now, I don't work 5 days a week. It's part of life balance. And I'm looking over time, you know, a few years down the track I'll work a bit less each week and a bit less each week. I don't think I'll ever retire, but I'm looking at one day being able to just work, you know, just a couple of days or a day a week. And I'm on that path.
Yeah, that's cool. I was going to be cute and say you could probably get a job at the airport, but that'll be a couple of years away. So
I do have a couple of clients this year that I'm now shareholders in their business, and I'm on their boards. And it works really well. The results are really good. I'm just part of their team.
Excellent.
And I like that space. I do get upset when when I have a client for a while and they're going really well and then they don't need me much. I sort of get attached. So I like to have a longer term relationship with people.
I think we all do. And I think it is about seeing the value, because rarely, while we may be considered incredibly good value, it's not until we get down the food chain further and really see the fruits that we can get valued properly as advisors or coaches. Let's talk about a rant now.
A rant?
Your soapbox. You get 60 seconds to talk about something that you find, and we discussed it earlier, not so much annoying, but a state of the nation that you'd love to see corrected. What falls into that category for David Norris?
You asked me about a few days ago, about a lot of people. You said there were a lot of people who didn't really understand what coaching was, or maybe they did, or maybe they didn't, but it wasn't really very clear in the world. And we can touch on that.
Go ahead.
One way to look at this is there's types of coaches out there, and the term coach is, when you look at swimmers and sports people, a coach is obviously the motivator, the one who knows what they should be doing, the system for them to get fitter or whatever, and all those things happen in the business world as well, and you can have a coach that does that. But there tends to be out there there are different types of coaches, and there's the coach that's very system based, which is the franchise. They have systems. They teach people the system. They take the system out there and they show people, and that works really well for some businesses, and it really doesn't work at all for others. It really depends on the businesses, and I suppose as a rant, it'd be nice if those sorts of businesses went, this is going to work, so yes, hire me, or this isn't going to work with you, therefore you shouldn't hire me. And I'd like to see a bit more of that style of engagement where, if it's not working, don't engage, right? There's the coaches who are very experienced and they can help with anything, but they're not so system oriented. So they might have a lot of experience, but they don't have the system. And there tends to be sort of one or the other. And the thing about being a very experienced person helping, you're really more of a consultant. And you can go in and help a business, but it tends to be a very short engagement. If you're very good, you're very quick, and you fix problems very, very quickly. But you can't sustain a coaching business like that. You've got to keep finding new clients every week, and you may be really clever and really helpful, but it's really hard to run a business like that. I sort of saw this sort of style early and realised that I'm probably the experienced style, and I can help people with any aspect of business. But I need systems, and systems make it sustainable. So you get some coaches who have a lot of experience and also have systems that they can put into business, and for tracking and planning and marketing plans and roles and responsibilities, governance, staffing. All these things you can provide systems for all of those, which are sustainable.
Because
for that
that point there. Sorry, let's just wrap that up and say either. And I accept some responsibilities because we are in the similar space, and the frustration I feel often is I haven't been clear enough with my prospects as to what they can expect.
Yeah.
So I still think the coach or advisor, consultant needs to be really specific about what they bring,
Probably
and need to be that demanding of our clients. Otherwise, it ends in tears. Talking about governance, you are in a unique space, I think, here on the Central Coast. You do deliver board governance and support in that area. Do you have a case study or an example of where the Active Assist magic has worked at a governance level?
I can give an example of a family-based business that was. I can't talk about all the real issues that were going on internally.
I'm sure they'd rather you not. Yes,
but there was a lot of internal strife with staff who were actually board members, and I'd been helping them with management and marketing and some other things. So they'd asked me to look at the board, and the board really had no framework and no real. They had a charter that was a fairly generic charter, but it wasn't really followed. And anyway, they asked me to come to a board and just sit in, and it was hard for them, the person who asked me, because the others didn't want someone looking. But we sort of I got trusted over, by meeting them, and I had coffee with a couple of them. It was all sort of gentle. And now I go to their board meetings and I turn up and they say, David, will you chair? It's the formal procedure. They ask me to chair the board because they're all in one family except me. And I can. It just works, that dynamic, that I can operate the board and run it in a way that keeps it all really professional and non-family oriented. And the feedback I have from that is that clients, regardless of the fact, one, their family relationships are better, the board works better, it's much more, good reporting. There's a lot of good little elements that go into that. And just by the way, the business is in a tough market and it's actually growing and it's profitable and it's actually going well. Excellent. And better than it was before. And I recognise that a business that has good governance, that is a board and good general management, will get better results across the business anyway. And often the issues of a business being successful aren't so tactical operational, they're often a cultural values thing right at the top that affect the whole business, and you can fix those. I love doing that stuff. It's fun.
And more easily than most.
Well, a lot of people play with the stuff going on inside the business and try and fix their sales or fix their operations. Yeah, all those things are nice, but the fundamental problem never gets fixed.
No.
And it's often and I'm not saying leaders are bad. It's not like there's a bad leadership. It's just there's a functional dysfunction going on.
Sometimes
at that leader
misdirected
level.
or distracted by the little stuff. If they actually saw that. Anyway, I'm
well, they can avoid. They often avoid the personal stuff.
Okay. Before we finish, you've helped a big company,
Mm-hmm.
or a solid,
yeah,
significant Central Coast company. Mm. What about that sort of influence at a one-man band sort of level? Do you have any exposure there? Any experience there?
One-man band, lots of those.
What's
yeah. An example of a sort of quick win thing. I'll coffee with anybody. Anyone in business, right? You want to have a coffee, I'll have a coffee. The part of the reason for that, one, I like to help people. I go away from the coffee feeling like I've done something good. It feels good. The other is I learn something every time I coffee with somebody. And if I can keep absorbing what people are doing and what's working, it's good for me and clients. So it's a real old coffee. So a guy I coffeed with, he's an IT. He works on his own. There's a couple of issues with that. But we're having a coffee and he told me, I'd talked with him a few times at networking groups, and so we were sort of comfortable. And he told me he'd been struggling for 8 years, and his wife worked, and there was a whole lot of stress around her making the money and him running a business not making money. And he was an IT service provider, and he was on his own. And so I'm asking about the business and the usual general things. And I said to him, when people are down, a nice way to get them lifted, just to get things on the right path, is I asked him who his favourite client was, and he named them. I can't name them, but he named his favourite client, and it lifted him because he got into a space that he felt good. And I asked him all about them and why he liked them. And it came down to this client was a certain type of business that's on the Central Coast, and there's lots of them. And this one had a particular type of system that they used that all the businesses on the Central Coast are likely using. Mm-hmm. And when I asked him why he liked them, it was that he really liked the system that he worked with. He really knew it really well. So it was a personal confidence thing. He knew that's what he was good at. And I said, well, but you're currently marketing your IT just as an IT service provider to anybody. And you've got 500 other IT providers all saying the same thing. It's very hard to get work when you just look like everybody else. What would you think of saying you're an expert in this type of business, that's all you do, and you go out and go to those businesses and say, I'm a specialist in your type of system and I can help you with this system. Are you interested in what I can help you with? And he got interested. And anyway, cut a long story short, he changed his business card, he changed his brand to be a specialist in a certain type of business. Immediately, there's no one else on the Central Coast that's competing with him in that space. He's the only one who's a specialist in that space. Whenever he goes to a prospect who does that, who's in that market, he's really energised because he's thinking of his favourite client.
But it had no impact on his sales, did it, or profitability?
Yeah, it did.
Well, tell me about it.
Okay. He in the next 3 months made more turnover than the last 3 years in the next 3 months. And besides the fact that it's the wife and the kids but he'd gone for 8 years and struggled, and he didn't stop. In a way, he didn't stop earlier than that and go, I need to talk to somebody and I need some direction. He'd taken 8 years of that, but he's now a specialist in that area and that's all he does. And he loves every client he has, and he's not banging his head with all the other IT guys out there. This thing about the IT alignment with the market, particularly when you're in an area where there's lots of other people in the same space, it's an obvious simple thing. The main thing is the energy it gives you in your market space and when you're marketing and promoting, that you're actually in a space that you love to be in, that you're good at. But the thing about this is I've found pretty well all businesses that I come across have at least a little bit of an issue with their market alignment, that there's some misalignment between what the business provides and what the market is looking for. And a lot of people don't have that clarity about what it is they provide and who it's for, and being in a space. As a general rule, and we know this as coaches, that marketing to everybody out there who could use your services is a big mistake. marketing to the people out there who can best use your services is the right way to be thinking about it. And most businesses don't really have that clear in their strategy or their plan that there's a particular group they should be aligned with. And when you get that alignment right, your business virtually markets itself. It is such a fundamental thing to understand who your real market is and to align with it as best you can. And most businesses that I've come across don't do that very well. And that, to me, that's like a very simple thing.
David Norris, we all should work.
No, but we all know that. We all know. It's sort of obvious when you talk about it.
It is obvious to us, but that's the difference. It is about loving your job and loving the people you work with. If you are, and we all have the power to do that. Often we say, oh no, it's too hard. But you are an example, David Norris, of someone who loves the people they work with, and the energy shows. And I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure.